What's up, everybody? Doing a Testarossa Rants. Today I'm focusing on one thing only, and that's the top 20 hair metal albums. Now, all these albums I'll be showing today, I have in my vinyl collection. There's some albums that I didn't include because I don't have a vinyl copy, but I'll talk about those at the end. I also tried to keep the cliche stuff out, like Slippery When Wet, stuff like that. Great album, but these are the albums that really did it for me, and I love Slippery When Wet. I just can't really listen to it anymore. It's been killed. Today I'm smoking Guilty Pleasure. It's very mango, citrus, fruity, exotic. Very good. Smoking out of the Peterson Dracula. Very good. So let's dig in. Number 1, or number 20, actually. Dokken, Tooth and Nail. I remember hearing this in high school, and it blew me away. Of course, Tooth and Nail, the title track's insane. Bullets to Spare. It's just so good. Turn on the Action. George Lynch, one of the best. Number 20. Production's lacking a little, but it's very 80s, but it's cool. It works. Number 19, Great White. This is Once Bitten. Very good album. Got Lady Red Light, Save Your Love. Twice Shy was just as good, but this is they were their own thing. They were a blues band in a time of decadence. So, very good album. Very cool graphic design on the back. Hard to read the tracks, but it looks cool. Cool. Number 18, Wasp. To be honest, I really didn't like Wasp when I first started listening to them. It was like just too much. But the more I listened to them, the more and more they started to grow on me. Then I realized what a genius Blackie Lawless is when it comes to writing catchy choruses. This has I Want to Be Somebody, Love Machine. It's a very good album. Give Wasp another listen if you haven't, because I feel like they're underrated, and they kind of require a listen or two before it clicks, and you go, oh, I get it. Very good stuff. Number 17, Vixen, and this is the self-titled album. Rev It Up was very good too, but I had to go with the self-titled. It has some songs written by Peter Marks, and Jeff Paris actually wrote some of the songs, and he's a very good songwriter, and you should check out his solo album. But Crying, that's probably my favorite song on here. One Night Alone, actually, is probably my favorite song. Crying is probably my second favorite. But yeah, we got Vixen here. Looks kind of like a Heart album cover. It's a good album. Give it a listen, very poppy. The production's kind of strange, but it's not bad. Next on my list, number 16, we got Britney Fox from Philadelphia. Album's very hair metal, and as you can see here, the original review just talking about how great they were. So it was very good. And if you haven't checked out Dizzy Dean, this guy right here, his band after this is called Black Eyed Susan. Check it out, because he sounds completely different. Like here, you know, his singing's kind of an acquired taste, but Black Eyed Susan's more like an Aerosmith vibe thing, and it actually surprised me. So check out Black Eyed Susan too. But I mean, this goes on my list because Girls' School, Long Way to Love, Fun in Texas, those were some mainstays in high school on my playlist. So Britney Fox. Sticking with the Philadelphia theme, Cinderella. Cinderella at number 15, Night Songs. Really, I think Cinderella's best album was Heartbreak Station, but this was the first. Shake Me, Somebody Save Me, Shake Me really got me into the 80s music. It's just such a good song to this day. It stands the test of time. And it's so good. Kicks kind of ripped off Shake Me with Get It While It's Hot. Next time you hear Get It While It's Hot, listen to it. And the format with the organ, the guitar solo, the verses, how everything's structured is very similar to Shake Me. And I believe this came first, but I might be wrong on that. But yeah, Cinderella, Long Cold Winter, Night Songs, Heartbreak Station, Still Climbing, all 4 of those albums are spectacular albums, and they were kind of bluesy, but this was them at their most hair metal stage in the game. Cinderella. All right, and number 14. Really, it could have been any of their first 3 records, maybe even 4, but Tesla, I got to go with the Great Radio Controversy. Had Hang Tough, Lady Luck, Be a Man. Tesla is hugely underrated because they weren't glam. They were just a straight up rock band, a lot of blues influence. Like I said, they put out a bunch of good records, and I feel like they get overlooked. And any of their records could have been on my list, but I went with this one. I particularly like Hang Tough. I remember listening to that in middle school, so very good album. The next one, coming in at number 13, Poison, Flesh and Blood. Poison's best album, Native Tongue, is not really hair metal, and it's not really Poison. Richie Kotzen stepped in, kind of matured their songwriting a little bit. Definitely helped on vocals. Richie Kotzen was a monster, but this was like the last Poison record, and the songs are more mature than their previous records. I love the previous records, but I feel like the original lineup, this is Poison's most mature, well thought out work. Of course, you got Unskinny Bop, Something to Believe In, but the title track, Flesh and Blood, is definitely worthy, and I don't know why they never played that live, because they filmed a video for it and it was killer, and it's my favorite song on the record, but they never played it live. Doesn't make much sense. But there's Ball and Chain, that's a good one, and Poor Boy Blues, that got played a little bit live. But check out Ball and Chain, and of course the title track, and Ride the Wind's a classic. So good record. Poison sounding more mature, looking less glam. Production was Bruce Fairbairn, so it's pretty good, and pretty solid. Next, number 12, we got Whitesnake's 1987 self-titled album. John Sykes on guitar. This was right when David Coverdale was firing the band. This lineup on this album is just so good, and Crying in the re-recording of Crying in the Rain, the re-recording of Here I Go Again, which is Adrian Vandenberg playing the solo on that. But other than that, it's all John Sykes, and I definitely recommend Give Me All Your Love, Is This Love, Straight for the Heart, Still a Night, Bad Boys. I mean, like, the thing is just hits from front to back. You can listen to the whole thing, and it just rules. Simplistic back cover. One of the best records ever recorded, hair metal or not. Which that brings us to number 11. This is probably the most stereotypical album on my list. Def Leppard, Hysteria. I was listening to this album in middle school. It got me into music. If you take all the hits, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Animal, Armageddon, if you take those songs off the record, even Hysteria, but I love Hysteria still, but you take all the hits off the record and the record's still good. And that's kind of the criteria for all these albums I'm doing. Like, does the rest of the album stand up to the hits? Now, one thing about this, Love and Affection, the last, the song before the last, I believe. Or no, it's the last. It's the last song. Love and Affection. I feel like it could have been every bit as big as Hysteria, but it was too similar, so they never really pushed it. But Love and Affection is definitely the strong track on this. If you haven't heard the whole album, check out Love and Affection. It's very good. Next, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from this from all you Rat fans, but this is Rat's best album, Detonator. I mean, Detonator was just, it was so much more mature. So what? The album's polished. If they're spending a lot of money on recording an album to get it sounding like the best they possibly can, I don't see anything wrong with that. But in fact, the first records I like, but they're not as good because they're not produced as good. This is just, the production on it's top notch. It doesn't get better than this. Shame, 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 Loving You's a Dirty Job. You know, people talk trash about this album, and they shouldn't. It's real. The songs are solid, very catchy. One Step Away, Giving Yourself Away. I mean, the whole album's killer. Just because they got Desmond Child in there to help them write some hits doesn't make it a bad album. Being catchy and well produced is a good thing, kids. I don't understand where people get the idea just because an album's well produced it's bad. No, this is actually their best album, followed by an album I will talk about later. Next, at number 9, this is one of my favorites growing up, Bullet Boy's self-titled. This should have been way bigger than what it was. Mark Torian is probably the best vocalist of the 80s. Everything about this screams Van Halen, but it's its own thing. You can't like say, oh, that's definitely Van Halen. It's its own thing, but it was produced by Ted Tippelman, Van Halen's producers, so that's why there's some similarities there. But check out tracks Ode to Joe, F number 9, Hard as a Rock, Hell on My Heels. This album's good. There's no denying it. And like I said, it should have been bigger than what it was. Here we got them on the back. This whole album's good. Worth a listen. And I hate they get written off as a second-rate Van Halen because they're really not. The guitar work on it, Mick Sweeta, is insanely good, and people don't give it any credit. It's insanely good. Go back and listen to that album, and you'll just, I mean, Mick Sweet is a monster on that album. So I don't think it was fair to write that off as a Van Halen ripoff because it's not. Next album on my list, Danger Danger, Screw It. Now the first album was good. This album was better. The production on it is second to none. I believe that it matches my shirt, see that? They recorded this in the same studio. Skid Row recorded Slave to the Grind. The songs are so good. Andy Timmons is insane. Bruno Ravel. I mean, it's just hit after hit on the song, and I just think it came too late. This is also my most expensive record in my collection. If you want a copy of this on vinyl, you're gonna pay probably $100 or more. So I just think this was a little too late. And but check it out. Monkey Business is definitely a good one. Everybody Wants Some. This thing's loaded with hits. Very good, very polished. It's better than their first album. I like the first album, but it's better. That's all there is to it. There they are on the back. So, yeah, Danger Danger, Screw It. Kind of a hard album to get your hands on. Next is my favorite record in high school, and it's actually the band that convinced me that I could learn to sing. This is number 7 on my list. We got Faster Pussycat. Now the first record was great. The production was lacking a little. The production on this was better. The songs are more mature. They're more well thought out. Songs like Poison Ivy, House of Pain, Pulling Weeds. I mean, Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. Tattoo was one of my favorite. Ain't No Way Around. I mean, the whole album, very good. Very good album. Like I said, I love their first album. I love the third album, Whipped, too, but this one's just like the peak of hair metal, and this should have been more popular because there's more hits than House of Pain on this. Give this whole album a listen. It's like a dingier Aerosmith. So also Tammy Down convinced me that I should learn to sing, so got a lot of influence from there. Next, at number 6, we got the best Van Halen album ever recorded. David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. This is the record Van Halen should have recorded. I like 5150 and OU812, but Eat 'Em and Smile was better. David Lee Roth, his backing band, Billy Sheehan, Greg Bissonette on drums, and Steve Vai on guitar. I mean, like, who do you get to replace Eddie Van Halen? Steve Vai. So, very good album. Very all over the place. Produced well. Songs are good. This is my favorite Van Halen record right here. My only complaint is the guitars sound a little tinny and thin. And but other than that, it's great. Skyscraper, you know, his next album was a big letdown because the production went downhill on it, and it's surprising. You know, you'd figure it'd get better with time and technology, but it kind of took a step backwards. So this was David Lee Roth at his peak. Some of the good songs on here, Yankee Rose, of course. I like Ladies' Night in Buffalo, Tobacco Road. I mean, this album's awesome. Very good. David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. Okay, we're in the top 5 now. Coming at number 5, Skid Row, self-titled. Album was so good. Slave to the Grind was very good too, but there's just so many hits on this. Can't Stand the Heartache, Sweet Little Sister, and Here I Am are my 3 favorite tracks off this. I mean, it's just a great album from start to finish. One of the best debut albums of all time. No denying it. Skid Row, self-titled. Number 4. Slaughter, Stick It To You. Also a killer debut album. Produced by the bass player, Dana Strum. How many musicians can produce an album in analog and actually play on the album and everything? That's pretty surprising. People complain about the production on this and their next album, The Wildlife. I see nothing wrong with it. It's different, but it's not produced bad at all. This is a very strong album. Take Flight of the Angels off of it and Up All Night, and it's still a very strong album. So one of my favorite albums of all time. I still listen to it almost every day. Desperately, Mad About You, Spend My Life. So good. Slaughter, Stick It To You. Very good. Next, I lied. This is the most cliche album on my list, but I couldn't not include it because I spent all of middle school and high school listening to it. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Everybody knows. What's there to say that it already hasn't been said, you know? My favorite tracks are Mr. Brownstone, Anything Goes, It's So Easy, Rocket Queen, You're Crazy, Think About You. What's there to say? Fun fact, bought this at Walmart, had no explicit content sticker on it, and then you open it up and it's got the original artwork that got banned. So I'm not gonna show the other side. But yeah, Appetite for Destruction. Great album. Next, my favorite band from the hair metal era. Hades Dead, but Warrant, Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich. Their first 3 albums were all good, but this was the original. This is what got me hooked on Warrant. Sometimes She Cries, Heaven, In the Sticks is a standout track, Cold Sweat, So good. The artwork was done by a Disney animator, which is pretty cool. And this is why vinyl rules, because artwork like this is meant to be appreciated and observed. And when you got a little tiny CD, you can't appreciate it all there. There's some hidden stuff in there. And there's the back with 32 pennies on the back. Warren also always had the coolest BC Rich guitars. I mean, it's just insane. This is actually a Korean copy, and what's cool about the Korean copy is on the lyric sheet, there's a lot of misprinted lyrics. Like on Cold Sweat, he goes, I got alligator shoes, I've been making moves, that's correct. And then, like a clown in a window, I've got plenty of booze. So some stuff was lost in translation, but the Korean version, I bought it sealed. That's why I bought it, because it was still sealed. Again, excellent debut record. And people talk trash about Warrant because they got, you know, studio guitarist Mike Slammer to play the guitars on the first record. But you got to give credit where credit's due, because the songs are still good. Jani Lane was a songwriting monster. And they also had enough common sense to say, hey, our guitar solos aren't cutting it. Let's bring in somebody and make this record the best it could possibly be. And they did. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with getting help to make something better. So, you know, and they stepped it up. On Dog Eat Dog, they played all the solos. So Joey Allen and Eric Turner, they're good guitar players. It just wasn't quite where it needed to be for the debut. And they made a good move bringing in Mike Slammer, and they put out one of the best debut albums of all time. Tons of hits. Jani Lane is one of the most underrated songwriters of all time, which brings me to my next point. If you get a chance, listen to some of Jani Lane's solo stuff, or Saints of the Underground. That's Jani Lane. This record right here, it's a bunch of cover songs. He covers Photograph, Def Leppard, The Ocean, No Surprise by Aerosmith, which is a really off-the-wall cover. The dude could sing. I mean, he was just insanely talented. And there's some videos of him playing, you know, acoustic songs and whatnot on YouTube. The dude could write songs. Give Warrant credit where credit is due. He was an excellent songwriter, and it's a shame he's dead. Now, my #1 hair metal album of all time. People are going to complain because it's not an earlier record, but Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood. It's the best Motley Crue record. Girls, Girls, Girls is a close second. The production on this is what I judge all production by. It's how guitar should sound. It's how drums should sound. Everything sits in the mix perfectly. It's so pleasing to listen to. It's not shrill. It's absolutely fantastic album. The songs are great. This is Motley Crue at their best. I love the first albums, but this is just, it don't get any better than this. The production's there, the songs are there, everything's there. Such a good record. And I like their first records, but it don't get better than this. I base all my production off of this. How does it sound compared to Dr. Feelgood? Bob Rock absolutely crushed on this production. I mean, just killed it. Now, some honorable mentions. I don't have them all on vinyl, but Dogs D'Amour, awesome sleazy Rod Stewart-y, Black Crowes type of hair metal. Very, very good. Can't believe they didn't have a hit. Very good. This one comes on green vinyl. Green. But yeah, these guys should have been bigger. Gotta throw some Night Ranger in there. This is a good album. You Can Still Rock in America, Sister Christian, When You Close Your Eyes. I mean, very solid album. Another band that's pretty unheard of, kind of sleazy, Princess Pang. They're worth giving a listen to. There's a couple videos on YouTube. Check them out. Very good album. This was Rat's second best album, and people hate this album, but the songs are good and the production's good. Again, there's nothing wrong with writing catchy songs and having good production. This album's so solid. What's it gonna be? I mean, I Want a Woman, No Surprise. So good. Another female-fronted band, Smash Gladys. This is like the female Guns N' Roses. So check this record out. They got a bunch of stuff. They recorded some songs a little bit differently for like a demo type thing, but the versions on this record are better. So like check out 17 Going On Crazy from this record, and it's such a good song. Sermonette's a really good song. Let's see what else. Pride, White Lion, it's good. Let's see here. Some other bands that didn't make it but should. The Choir Boys, A Bit of What You Fancy. Check that out. That's like Rod Stewart, very good. Some songs off that album like Misled, 7 O'Clock, excellent. The Originals, the pioneer of the whole glam thing, Hanoi Rocks, 2 Steps from the Move, very good. Michael Monroe, a very pretty man. But yeah, anyway, that's my top 20 plus some more that I like. Oh, Steelheart, Tangled in the Reins, check that out. Dude can sing insanely high. Very good record. So let me know what your favorites are, but those are the best as far as I'm concerned. Later, fools.